I'd like to call the Senate to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Barnett. Senator Barrett. Senator Blackman. Senator Blackwell. Senator Blunt. Senator Boyd. Senator Branning. Senator Bryan. Senator Butler to 36. Senator Butler to 38. Senator Carter. Senator Kaufman. Senator Chazanall. Senator Chisholm. Senator DeBar. Senator Delano. Senator England. Senator Fillingane. Senator Frazier. Senator Harkins. Senator Hickman. Senator Hill. Senator Hobson. Senator Horn. Senator Jackson. Senator Johnson. Senator Jordan. Senator Kirby. Senator McCon. Senator McDaniel. Senator McGlinden. Senator McCon. Senator McMahon. Senator Michelle. Senator Moran. Senator Norwood. Senator Parker. Senator Parks. Senator Polk. Senator Seymour. Senator Simmons of the 12th. Senator Simmons of the 13th. Senator Sojourner. Senator Sparks. Senator Suber. Senator Tate. Senator Thomas. Senator Thompson. Senator Turner Ford. Senator Whaley. Senator Wiggins. Senator Williams. Senator Younger. Mr. President, a quorum is present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Will the senators and the guests in the gallery please rise for the invocation given by Senator Kelvin Butler, be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Senator Branning. Senator Butler.
Father God, we come with thanksgiving in our heart, Lord. Thanking you for all you're doing in our lives. Lord, thanking you right now just for the opportunity to bless your name. Lord, you're good to us. You're better to us than we are to ourselves. And we said thank you this morning. Most of all, Lord God, we come, Lord, just thanking you for taking ordinary men and women of this state and charge us to do extraordinary things for the state of Mississippi. We do not take that lightly, Lord, because we know that you has the ultimate say on everything that we do. We thank you again for just giving us the opportunity to serve. God, you know that you charged us with this opportunity, and Lord, we do not take it lightly. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to serve. Thank you for just giving us the opportunity to come to Jackson, and you keep us safe, you keep us from all harm and danger. Again, help us to continue to be the best that we can be as we represent the people that sent us here to represent them. We thank you, we praise you, we honor you, but most of all, we love you. For it's in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer.
Can we get a photo right there?
Thank you, Senator Butler. Senator Branning. I'm going to read now to the reading of the journal. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate dispense with reading of the...
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Message and petitions, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, there are none.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Committee reports, Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Mr. President, move the Senate dispense with the reading of the committee reports.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the committee reports. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Next to the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions, Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions.
Senator moves to dispense with the reading of the titles of the bills and resolutions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Introductions. Senators, introductions. Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we have Dr. Anita Henderson from Hattiesburg as our doctor of the day, along with her husband, Dr. Randy Henderson, my constituents and friends, and then with them they have 4 med school students. So please help make them welcome.
Senator Wiggins, you're recognized for introduction, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to introduce these folks. We have with us the officials from Council of State Government, CSG. If you'll stand, we have Lindsey Gray, the director. We have Cody Allen, Jenny Guadalupe, and this lady's from Mississippi, and she's the director of policy, Ann Brody. So thank y'all for being here, CSG.
Senator Kirby, you're recognized for introduction, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Senator Kaufman, who has the flu, by the way, I thought I might announce that. We have the Simpson County Youth Leadership Group here today, and their leaders are Tyler Sharami and Josh Allen. If they would all please stand and let their Senate make them welcome.
Welcome. Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is my pleasure to introduce an awesome group of young people from Humphreys County. We have the 7th and 8th graders from Humphreys County, along with their teacher, Ms. Kathy Pinkston. We're going to ask them to stand, and let's give them a warm Senate welcome.
Senator England, you're recognized for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few introductions here this morning, or a couple, I should say. First, if you'll turn to the North Gallery, we have my friend Mabry Pate, who is 11 years old in the 5th grade, visiting his capital this morning with his mother, Anne Marie Pate, who I went to law school with. I'm so glad to have him here today. Please help them make them feel welcome here today. And if you'll rotate over to the South Gallery, I have my friends from Singing River Electric here with me. I have Brian Huey, Lori Freeman, and Nick D'Angelo, who I'm also very glad to have here. Always glad to visit with you guys. Thank y'all for being here.
Okay. Senator Johnson, did you have another introduction, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. In the South Gallery, in the North Gallery, we have Brittany Reidinger, who I believe used to be with us here at the Capitol. I think all the senators
she is
make
right
her
here.
happily welcome.
Welcome, Brittany. Y'all welcome home. Senator Carter,
Announcement.
please,
Not- Introduction, I'm sorry.
please proceed with your
So my
introduction.
friends from Coast Electric over here out of my eyesight in the South Gallery, if y'all will please stand and let the Senate make you welcome.
Coast Electric. Keep the lights on. Senator Thomas. you're
Thank you, Mr.
recognized for
President.
introduction.
On behalf of Senator Hobson and myself, we'd like to recognize our friends from Yazoo Valley Electric Power Association. We'll ask them to stand. We have our CEO, Mr. Michael Neely. We have Mr. Ben Rush, Rebecca Yates, and Jason Patterson. Let's give them a warm Senate welcome.
Okay, Senator McMahon, for an introduction, sir.
Mr. President, I request an excused absence today for Senator Kaufman, who's out due to an illness.
CM objection granted. Senator Chasnow.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the West Gallery, we have a group of folks from Camp Kamasa, which is the wonderful camp that's being developed. It's the only accessible camp here for kids with disabilities and adults with special needs. I'm especially happy to welcome my cousin-in-law, Mary Kitchens, but we also have with her Tamara and Elise, and they brought some wonderful cookies to us last week, so give these ladies a big hello and a welcome to our Senate.
Is our leadership Madison up there? Okay, who wants to introduce him? Senator Michelle?
Full, they're not here yet.
Okay. The gallery is too full of y'all business. We certainly appreciate Mary Kitchens. She has just done that literally from scratch. Great effort, Camp Kamasa. I encourage everyone to support her efforts. Okay, any other introductions? Okay, Senator Michelle, I'll recognize you when Madison County gets here. Let's go to the calendar. Appropriations. Senator Hobson is recognized. We're on item 1, Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we go to item 1 on today's calendar and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3113, appropriation additional to Office of Workforce Development for certain programs, ARPA funds.
I'll make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Mr. President, if I may, I would like to actually take up items 1 through 6 in block. And my motion first would be to take items 1 through 6 in block.
Anyone wish to withhold 1 through 6? Any one of 1 through 6? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No, I'm sorry, Senator Blackburn?
Thank you, Mr. President. Number 3.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 in block. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3113, appropriation additional to the Office of Workforce Development for certain programs, ARPA funds. Senate Bill number 3114, appropriation additional DEQ for Mississippi Municipality and County Water Infrastructure Grant Program, ARPA funds. Senate Bill number 3116, appropriation additional DFA for Destination Marketing Organizations and Main Street Association, ARPA funds. Senate Bill number 3117, appropriation additional for DFA Office of Insurance for State and School Employees Life and Health Insurance Plan, ARPA funds. Senate Bill number 3118, appropriation additional to DFA Bureau of Buildings, ARPA funds.
Now I'll make the usual motion on all those items.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please present Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move adoption by use of the morning roll call, and I ask that you recognize Senator Polk to explain.
Senator Polk is recognized to explain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, we had about $350 million or so left in ARPA funds that we did not appropriate last year. What we're suggesting here is the basically rest of the expenditure of the $350 million for different items that have not been completed or need additional funds. So I'll go over those except for item number 3. First is the Senate Bill 3113. This is the Accelerate program. We have a nursing and allied health training at our community colleges and at the IHL. This would be a $15 million appropriation. In addition to that, residency programs that are needing to be funded throughout the state would give us additional doctors in Mississippi eventually. We have a $3 million appropriation there. Then if you'll move to Bill number 3114, this is an additional $41 million to be given to DEQ to disperse to the grantees that have been accepted by the counties and cities and their water, sewer, and infrastructure. The reason we're giving $41 million is, as you know, we appropriated $450 last year, and it turns out that all the requests that were turned in, an additional $41 million will fund every one of those requests. So we're offering that we finish that project in every city and town would get the amount that they had requested. Next would be Senate Bill 3116. This is tourism, your DMOs in your areas, that many are doing great work that are increasing the economy of their areas through tourism. We have a $12 million appropriation there. And the smaller towns have the Main Street program, and the appropriation there will be $3 million. That bill will total $15 million appropriation. Next is 3117. This is the DFA health insurance, our employee health insurance. As you know, COVID did a number on it. We gave $60 million appropriation last year. This time, they've identified another $30 million that can be used for COVID replacement. So we're requesting $30 million appropriation there. And then finally, Bill 3118 is an appropriation for the DFA Bureau of Buildings. As you know, we gave them around $165 million last year for a lot of different agencies and buildings to do work. It turns out that they're going to need an additional amount to finish the work that they started last year, and that appropriation will be $75 million. If there are no questions, I believe the chairman has asked for morning roll call.
Questions on the bill? Questions on the bill? Senator Horn, for what purpose, sir?
Question.
You yield for a question, Senator?
I do.
Senator Horn is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Polk. I want to make sure that I'm hearing and understanding everything. We're putting $15 million into 3113 for nurses and another $3 million in for doctors.
Actually, it's not only nurses, it's allied health professionals. It will cover more than just nurses. And then the residency programs can be set up in different hospitals across the state. And there has to be a startup amount. It costs a bit to start a program.
But the numbers are correct, 15 and 3.
15 and 3, that is correct.
And we're doing 41 million into the municipalities and county water infrastructure grant program.
That's correct.
All right. And we're doing 5 million for DMOs and 3 million for Main Street program.
No, sir, that was 12 million for DMOs and 3 million for Main Street.
Okay, thank you. And 30 million for insurance, state and school employees. 30 million for that.
30 million to replace the funds that were spent on COVID, can have been identified and are under ARPA legitimate purposes.
All right, and 75 million for DFA Bureau of Buildings.
That's correct.
Okay, so that doesn't total 350 million. So where's the rest of the 350 anticipated in going?
Well, a good chunk of it was just, we didn't cover in block. This is just the in block that we've asked for. There are other appropriations that we'll be talking about.
And none of this speaks to capital expense funds, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
None of this speaks to capital expense funds, is that right?
No, this is all ARPA funds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Horn. Senator Hill, for what purpose?
Question on number one.
Will you yield for a question?
Yes.
Senator Hill is recognized for a question.
Thank you. On number one, SB 3113, it talks about on lines 24 through 29, administrative fees, third-party accounting, and the deployment of an ecosystem workforce development model by the Office of Workforce Development to support effective implementation. What is a deployment of an ecosystem workforce development model? I've never heard of that. Sounds green to me. Geographic? Just geographic?
There are people in each county that are working to accelerate to ensure that the projects flow up and flow down. And I guess that's just the terminology they use for administration on that.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Delano, for what purpose, sir?
question.
You here for a question, Senator Polk?
I do.
Senator, I'm going to ask you a little question about item number 4 on the tourism and the DMOs.
Yes.
Isn't it true that after, or when we first had the ARPA money come in and after the COVID, that we spent a significant amount of money with this program with our DMOs across the state?
We did.
And isn't it true that we were able to track those, the revenues that we received, and we were also able to see that we recovered quicker than most of our neighboring states who didn't make that type of investment?
My understanding is that is correct.
And the reason why we chose to go with our DMOs is that they're attracting people from outside of the state of Mississippi. So they're bringing new dollars into our state that then gets to be churned 5 to 6 times through our economy and goes through our tax, and it derives a lot of new taxes to our state.
It does, and also understand this, the DMOs are all over Mississippi, so each one of those DMOs has a specific area they're responsible for. So not only are we bringing them to one part of the state, we're bringing them all over the state.
That's exactly right. That's a very good program, and it's been very successful, especially in our tourism markets areas. But I just wanted to say thank you very much, and I'd hope to see that we can continue to fund that a little bit more than what we have in this original action.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Blunt, for what purposes, sir?
Question, Mr.
Are
President.
you for a question, Senator Polk?
Yes.
Senator Blunt is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Polk. Following up on Senator Horner's question, I heard you say that we had approximately $350 million of ARPA funds left, and I realize we've set Senate the number 3 on the calendar aside, but I got 254. What else?
You'll get 350. The chairman has some other bills he will be presenting.
Okay.
These are just the ones that I'm presenting in block.
Okay, so the other bills that we'll take up today will show where the rest of that money's going?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Senator Horn, for what purpose, sir?
Another question, Mr.
Question, Senator Polk?
Yes.
You're recognized, Senator, for a question.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Horn.
President. Thank you, Senator Polk. Mr. Chairman, last year, I believe it was with capital expense funds. I'm not sure, but it might have been with ARPA funds. We put a lot of money into museums. Was that ARPA funds or was that capital expense?
We did put some ARPA funds into museums.
Okay. Are you aware, would you be surprised if I told you that the largest museum in the state was omitted from any funding in last year during the allocation of resources?
If you say that, I'll certainly believe it. Understand, when we use the ARPA funds for the museums, we really restricted it to the smaller museums because they're the ones that had the most need for their community. Any other museums that receive funds would have received it through CapEx.
Well, its size became a hindrance for it with the Mississippi Museum of Art because it was omitted in all of the funding that we provided, special funding for our DMOs, our arts museums and whatnot, because it was restricted to communities of populations of less than 50,000.
Correct.
And so my question to you is, are we going to try to make any amends for that omission in this year in any budget scenario that you have contemplated?
The Senate bills do not have any funding for museums this time.
Okay, my question is, are we going to take care of our Mississippi Museum of Art this year?
That is a question that's above my pay grade, but these bills that I'm presenting do not have funds for museums.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Michelle, you're recognized for an introduction out of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. But before they leave, would the Madison County in the West Gallery please hold on just a moment? We want to welcome you to our Senate chamber on behalf of Senator Blackman, Senator Thomas, Senator Horn, Senator Hobson, and myself. We have a great group here today from the Madison County Executive Leadership Class. Today's Government Day at the Capitol of Madison County. Please join me in welcoming them to our beautiful state capitol building.
Young leaders taking time. That's great. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Okay, Senator Simmons, Derek. For what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You have for a question, Senator?
I do.
Please proceed, Senator Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator, for yielding. Senator Polk, this kind of follows up from Senator Horn and Senator Blunt. I'm not on appropriation, so I was trying to follow the 41 million for the municipal and county water, the 12 million for DMOs, and the 75 million for Bureau of Buildings. And I know one item has been set aside, which I guess other bills we take up today will total to 350 million. So my question is this. Can we just get a list, because I'm not on appropriation, so can we just get a list that will show the 350 million of ARPA funds that we are considering today and whenever, I mean, the rest of the session on what we plan to do regarding all of these appropriations regarding ARPA?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. It'll become very clear when we get through today what we've done. But yes, there is a list, and we'll be glad to get it to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Simmons. Senator Sarita Simmons, for what purpose, ma'am?
Introduction out of order.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the ending non-smoking session, I would like to welcome two of my great friends, Pastor Dennis Perry and his lovely wife, Alicia Perry. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, would you all please give them a warm welcome? Thank you.
Senator Boyd,
Introduction out of order.
please proceed.
Would y'all help us welcome in our gallery today the Mississippi Thrive Child Development Promotion Fellows. They are working on many issues that affect our children across the state. With them is Amanda Ward from Meadville, Alina Cauldron from Meridian, Connor Beth Fudge from Brandon, Carrie Stevens from Madison, and Valencia Wilson from Jackson, and Dr. Rachel Tyrone from UMMC. So if y'all will please, and I'm sorry, Dr. Courtney Walker from Nesbitt, if y'all will help make them welcome today.
Okay. Other questions on the bills? Seeing none, we're ready for your motions.
Chairman has requested morning roll call.
Use of morning roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Mr. Carter's voting no. Present. Seeing none, Senator Hobson, you're on item 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the title be read.
One moment. Senator McCon.
To the vote, I'd like to be recorded as voting no on number 4.
No. McCon, number 4. Anyone else? Okay. Senator, we're on number 3.
Thank you. I'd ask that the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3115, appropriation additional to the DOH for ARPA Rural Water Association's Infrastructure Grant Program.
I make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Hobson.
Move adoption and ask that you recognize Senator Polk to explain.
Senator Polk, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 3115 is the appropriation that we intend for the State Health Department to issue more grants to our water associations across the state. That would be $75 million. And we gave them, as you'll remember, $300 million last year. Of course, that was spent pretty quickly. We had a lot more requests than we had funds for. Now, $75 million will not take care of the requests we know we have out there, but it certainly will help. So we're proposing $75 million in addition to the $300 million that we gave last year to the Health Department for water associations. If there are no questions, use of morning roll call is requested.
Questions on the bill? Senator Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of amendments.
Okay, please proceed to the Secretary's desk with your amendments. Other questions? Other questions? Seeing none, Senator Blackman, you're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you. Wait a minute. This is black.
I apologize. I'm sorry, that was a typo scrivener's error. I'll rework it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. It's actually one amendment. And after conferring with the Chairman of Appropriations and Corbin, who is the one who knows everything, my amendment is simply to say that it is the intent of the legislature that the Canton Municipal Utilities Commission be awarded a grant in the full amount available under Section 41.3.16.1, provided that the commission provides matching funds. And in the city of Canton, we have a separate water, sewer, gas, electric commission from the city of Canton. So the city of Canton's commission did not receive any ARPA funds. The city of Canton received ARPA funds, and the city of Canton, just like the state of Mississippi, had so many various needs, one of which was during the pandemic, their general funds were depleted, and they utilized monies from ARPA that was allowable by law to be utilized for general funds, just like the state of Mississippi utilized, I think, about $250 million to replace general funds. And just like the state of Mississippi had all of these various entities that needed funds, from our hospitals to our first responders to our water associations to our providing matching grants to our cities and counties. All I'm asking is that CMU, the commission, be allowed to get a grant, provided that it provides 100% matching funds under which we required under the ARPA for the cities and counties, but we did not require it for the water associations. And if there are no questions, I move adoption after we hear from our chair or vice chair.
Thank you, Senator Blackwell. Senator Polk, you're recognized.
There's a question.
Thank you, Mr.
One
President.
second, one second. I'm sorry. Senator Sparks,
A question, Mr. President.
will you yield for a question? Senator Blackwell.
I yield.
Senator Sparks, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Is the Canton Municipal Utilities Commission, is that neither a municipal water or a rural water association? Is it in between those or not defined?
As you know, from my recollection, the city of Canton in 1954, this legislature authorized cities to be able to create water, sewer, electric, gas commissions. In 1954, the city of Canton took advantage of that. The city of Canton appoints 5 commissioners, but the city of Canton has nothing to do with the commission other than the appointment of the 5 commissioners. The commission charges the city's citizens for water, sewer, gas, electric.
Okay, so as you understand it, it's kind of like a water district that in other places in the state?
That's exactly what it is. And from my recollection, I believe it's like 5 in the state. I know Yazoo has one, and I know Greenwood, and I know there's one up in Marshall County, and Oxford must does not have one, but it's about 5, and I know it's 5 because they belong to their own association.
Okay, and were they excluded by definition from either the Rural Water Association ARPA programs and the cities and counties?
That is correct.
Okay.
They were.
There are, and I'm supportive of the idea. I just don't want to single out one group and not allow the others who were excluded, because it sounds very similar to a water district that was created in Tishomingo County years ago, which the board appointed the original people. Now it's run just like a water association, but in one of the regs that was put out, user created was a requirement, so they didn't qualify under either situation. I know there's several bills that attempt to address this issue for everybody. I just want to make sure that we don't miss, if there's 4 or 5 other people that would like to have a chance to apply, as well as what I think are about 12 water districts. Would you be amenable to trying to look at language that includes everybody?
I have no problem with that whatsoever, but when the chairman of appropriations and I had our sidebar discussion as to why I was wanting to bring this, I told him, I'm looking out for the district I represent. If you all hadn't thought about it for yours, then that's on y'all.
Well, I've thought about it, brought it up, talked about it, asked questions, and even brought it up in the compilation and revision committee, because I felt like the exclusion was unintentional. This body did not intend to exclude these folks. Okay.
And so I have no problem. I do know that there are about 5 cities, but I do not know how many water districts there are that are falling in the cracks, just like our entity is.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Michelle.
Thank you. Senator Blackman, you keep mentioning Canton, but I know that CMU covers other areas outside of Canton. I know the Lake Carolina area is one. What other areas in Madison County does CMU cover?
Well, as you know, a commission, according to the law that was established in 1954, you can go 5 miles beyond your city limits. So anything that's beyond 5 miles of the city of Canton's city limits, it will cover.
Do they go south in the northeast part of the county, south of Canton, the area you represent now?
Yes, sir, they do. And as you pointed out, we do cover Lake Caroline.
Yes. Okay, what would be the amount you referred to on the 3rd line, the full amount available under section 41-316? What dollar amount does that refer to?
The dollar amount that the state of Mississippi is allowing the water associations to get is up to 2.5 million, am I correct? Okay, what is it this time? It was 2.5 in the first round. But it has not been decided as yet what this round will be. So I'm just saying whatever the amount will be, that they will be eligible. But I'm going beyond what we are doing in terms of with the water associations. The water associations, their money is going to be strictly a grant. They do not have to put up anything. But I'm saying that CMU would put up matching monies.
You're requiring a match. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Senator Polk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. No one can ever say that the good senator doesn't take care of her district or tries. But when we started this process, the subcommittee that I was chairman of, the one thing we wanted to do was make sure it was always a fair and level playing ground. We're giving out a lot of money. I think it's close to, when we get through, $800 or $900 million. We want to keep it fair and level for everyone. And to do that, we can't have line item appropriations. So I would suggest to you that you vote no.
Thank you, Senator Redfree. Motion, Senator Blackwell.
And I'm asking you to vote for this motion. And all this would be is simply including this, and as you all know, we are in the beginning of the appropriations process. This has to go to the House, and then it perhaps has to go to conference. And during that time, all of these other entities that we know are out there that have not been able to take advantage of the monies, we can bring those entities to the table as well. And I'm asking if 5 more people will stand for a roll call vote.
We have 5 stand. We have 3, 4, 5. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
And you all are voting against Senator Blackwell's amendment if you vote against.
Barnett. Barrett. Blackman. Blackwell. Blunt. Boyd. Branning. Bryan. Butler to 36. Butler to 38. Carter. Kaufman. Chazanall. Chisholm. DeBar. Delano. England. Fillingane. Frazier. Harkins. Hickman. Hill. Hobson. Horn. Jackson. Johnson. Jordan. Kirby. McCon. McDaniel. McLendon. McMahon. Michelle. Moran. Norwood. Parker. Parks. Polk. Seymour. Simmons of the 12th. Simmons of the 13th. Sojourner. Sparks. Suber. Tate. Thomas. Thompson. Turner Ford. Whaley. Wiggins. Williams. Younger. Blunt. Boyd. Bryan. Kaufman. DeBar. Frazier. Suber. Whaley. Voting yes or yay. Barnett. Blackman. Butler to 36. Butler to 38. DeBar. Frazier. Hickman. Horn. Jackson. Jordan. Michelle. Norwood. Simmons of the 12th. Simmons of the 13th. Thomas and Turner Ford. Voting no or nay. Barrett. Blackwell. Boyd. Branning. Carter. Chazanall. Chisholm. Delano. England. Fillingane. Harkins. Hill. Hobson. Johnson. Kirby. McCon. McDaniel. McLendon. McMahon. Moran. Parker. Parks. Polk. Seymour. Sojourner. Sparks. Tate. Thompson. Whaley. Wiggins. Williams, and Younger.
Senator Suber, for what purpose?
To the vote.
Yes?
I vote no.
No, Suber. Senator Johnson, for what purpose, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction out of order.
Please proceed while he's counting the votes here.
Thank you. In the North Gallery, we have Missy Schrader and Wes Brooks from the DeBard School in Hattiesburg. Please help make them welcome.
Do great work for our children. Very proud of the DeBard School. One moment.
1635.
The amendment fails 16 yea, 33 nay. We're back up on the item 3.
There are no further questions. Use of the morning roll call.
Question, Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, this does have a reverse repealer in it, correct?
It does.
Okay, so we can work together to maybe get language to try to keep folks that maybe were excluded the first time around in this bill still.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me say this. We worked very hard when we passed the bill last year to ensure that every type of association or district would be included. Apparently, we didn't work hard enough, or we failed to understand some of the language we needed to use. So we tried it last year, so it's not out of the mindset to think we would certainly try to do it this year.
Yes, and I know it wasn't intentional. Unfortunately, we legislate and then some folks regulate, and when the regulation has user created as a requirement and folks aren't user created, then they are de facto excluded. So I didn't mean to imply the legislation was intentional, but unfortunately the regulation, the end result was denial. So thank you.
Senator Turner Ford, for what purpose, ma'am?
Question.
You for a question, Senator?
I do.
Senator Turner Ford is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I understand that it was an oversight that this particular class of water service provider was omitted or not included in the legislation. Do we know that this is the only group that's left? I was not aware that we had all these different types of
Right.
water service providers.
They just sometimes keep popping up, so I couldn't answer that question.
Is there a way for us to dispatch someone to make that determination as the bill moves forward?
We certainly will try.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Turner Ford. Other questions? Other questions? Senator, seeing none, we're ready for your motion, sir.
Use of the morning roll call, final passage.
Use of the morning roll call for final passage has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Item 7, Senator Hobson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the title be read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3119, appropriation additional to Department of Health Mississippi Hospital Sustainability Grant Program, ARPA funds.
I'll make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Thank you. I would ask that you move adoption and you recognize Senator Blackwell to explain.
Senator Blackwell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. This is the appropriation bill that goes along with Senate Bill 2372. If you'll recall, we passed that a few weeks ago, and that created the Mississippi Hospital Sustainability Grant Program. And this is the funding that goes with that. And it's listed right now at $83 million. I will yield for any questions.
Questions? Questions? Senator Jordan, for what purpose, sir?
I have a question, Mr. President. I have a question, Mr. President.
You're recognized for a question, Senator.
Yes, Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. This money, 83 million, you said?
Yes, sir.
And it will go, explain what it will go for hospitals?
It'll be going to the hospitals And right now, we're working on a formula. The Hospitals Association has presented us with a conceptual plan that they've come up with to distribute these funds. So we're basically taking a look at that right now and also trying to take a look at additional data such as average daily census, the number of licensed beds, and some of their expenditures.
Can't hardly hear you. Your mic's down a little lower. Okay. Now, the hospital will be able to use these resources any way that they can to sustain themselves?
Yes, sir.
You have an idea how many?
They have to be ARPA eligible, the hospitals do. This is another part of the ARPA funds. I think there was a question about.
They have to be eligible?
Yes, sir.
What are the requirements for them being eligible? What are the requirements for them to be eligible?
Basically, all the ARPA eligible expenses that have been allowed.
Say that again. You might still falling down.
It would be all the eligible ARPA expenses that they have encountered.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Butler, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You go for a question, Senator?
Yes, sir.
Senator Butler is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Helping to understand now, will all of our rural hospitals be covered under this?
All the ones that are going to be eligible, ARPA eligible, but I believe all the hospitals are covered.
Okay, and it will come through the hospital association?
They're working with us on a formula.
Thank you, sir.
Look.
Senator Blunt, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You for a question, Senator Blackwell?
Yield.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Blunt,
President.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Blackwell. What's the federal match for this money? How much federal dollars will be drawing down with, we put $83 million in this account?
To my knowledge, none.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Other questions on the bill? Okay, Senator, we're ready for you.
Request passage by the use of the morning roll
Use of
call.
morning roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, the bill passes. Senator, we're on 8.
Ask that we go to that item and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk.
Senate Bill number 3120, Capital Expense Fund, fiscal year 2024, appropriation to MDOT for certain infrastructure expenses.
I'll make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed.
Move adoption and ask that you recognize Senator Branning to explain.
Senator Branning, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 3120 is a funding package for transportation infrastructure in our state, and the source of revenue will be from the Capital Expense Fund. The total amount in the bill is $620 million, and it consists of the following categories. $480 million will go to MDOT for capacity to be used pursuant to their 3-year plan, and that is in Section 2 of the bill. In Section 3, you will see $100 million for the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund, and then $40 million for the federal match for their federal program, for the match for the federal program, so that they will draw down about $200 million this year. And that is an explanation of the bill. A lot of money in the bill, but just broken down very simply in those 3 categories. And at this time, Mr. President, I'm happy to yield for questions.
Questions on the bill? Senator Parker, for what purpose, sir? Sorry. Senator Whaley, for what purpose, sir?
I had an introduction out of order.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the North and West Gallery, we have a group of students and parents and teachers from the Senatobia Elementary Honor Society. I'd ask if they would stand and allow the Senate to please make them feel welcome.
Welcome. Good to have you here. Senator Horn, for what purpose, sir?
Question.
You for question, Senator Branning?
Yes, I do.
Senator Horn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Branning, what's the total amount that we're giving out of capital expense for this purpose?
$620 million, and you will see that on line 11 of the bill.
Okay, and are the projects broken down in the bill?
The projects are not broken down in the bill, and I'll call your attention to Section 2 of the bill, actually line 17 to be more specific. It talks about the 3-year plan. So what we're doing, we're giving of the $620 million, we're saying $480 million goes to the Department of Transportation to be used toward their 3-year plan. And our commission, our 3 commissioners get together several times a year and vote on the plan, and they decide what projects take priority. So what we're doing is working with the department and saying, here's $480 million to further what you've already got planned. And so there are several projects on the books right now that are ready, are shovel-ready. And so that's what we're trying to help them do, is get to the most shovel-ready projects that are on the books.
Okay, what if a member has a shovel-ready project that's not been included in the 3-year plan of the Department of Transportation members?
Then I would ask you to talk to your highway commissioner. They do that. That's who sets the 3-year plan. The commission gets together and they vote, and that's how we come up with the 3-year plan.
And we're putting $480 million into that particular portion of the allocation.
That's correct.
So the other $140 million or so, the stuff is going where?
$100 million goes into the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund, which is something that we've had since 2018. That will allow the cities and the counties to make application for projects within their districts that they deem to be emergent in nature. The other $40 million is the match. So MDOT will be able to draw down about $200 million with that $40 million match.
And what would that $200 million be used for?
It will go into the federal program. A lot of that is used for maintenance and other things within the program, but it is just program dollars.
Okay, and is it available anywhere that one can get a copy of the 3-year plan?
Absolutely. Yes, it's available online, or when we conclude in just a few moments, I can provide you with a copy.
I'd appreciate that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Parker, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr.
You
President.
here for a question, Senator Brandon?
I do.
Senator Parker, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Senator Brandon, for your work on this. I know last week there was a proposal that was issued by the governor's office that had a dollar amount in it. And, you know, again, I've tried to look at that a little bit. I'm looking at this real quick. Can you give kind of a comparison here of
Sure.
how this?
I can. Thank you for that question. In fact, I'm glad to hear the governor is supportive of infrastructure projects. I think that we are very much on the same page. Most of what we have done here falls right in line with his plan. If you look at the projects that the governor specified and compare that with the 3-year plan, that's where those projects came from. So what we are doing is sort of taking step 1 toward the governor's plan, if you will. And you have to think about it. The Department of Transportation can only do so much work in a year. And so what we need to be very careful about is not putting too much money out there to drive the price of construction up. We don't want to do that. We want to keep it steady, because I hope we're right back here next year in the same position, putting a lot of money into transportation as they need it. So, you know, in 9 more months, we'll be right back here, hopefully doing the same thing.
Right, and I listened yesterday when Brad White was on media talking about this. And, you know, one thing that I found interesting, we talked about it, whatever amount we put towards this is, you know, whether or not a program is in there or a project is in there, that moves us further along that road. So, you know, there's been some discussion I've heard of, okay, you know, how do I bring my project that I'd like, you know, that isn't ready right now to the front of this. That, in fact, when we get these projects that are ready now, you know, to the finish line, that in turn is bringing all of those other projects forward too. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It moves them out of the queue to start working on the other projects that are further down the line, so it helps everybody.
I look forward to hearing more details on this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Sojourner, for what purpose, ma'am?
A question.
Are you here for a question, Senator?
Yes.
Senator Sojourner is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chairman. I know we've talked a good bit in the past when it comes to infrastructure funding, that we have a lot of roads and bridges in the state that need maintaining, and we've tried to put a priority on maintenance, sometimes even in replace of new construction. Do you know, in the 3-year plan, it allows for both maintenance and new construction. Is that correct?
There is a portion of the plan that talks about maintenance, and I don't know all the details as far as right off the top of my head. I can get that for you. But here are my thoughts on the maintenance program, because I have had conversations about that. I have had the same concerns. When we take state dollars and plug that into capacity, it frees up MDOT to use their program dollars, which the $200 million that I just described would be program dollars on maintenance. And I am told that the federal dollars are better served on maintenance because they have certain parameters they have to meet annually. And so it works better that way. So this will allow them to use more of the federal dollars for maintenance.
Okay, so it does allow for both maintenance and new, but I guess it's really at the discretion of the commission how much they prioritize that into maintenance.
So if your question is whether the $480 million is going to go toward maintenance, I may have misunderstood exactly what you were saying. If you look at the language of the bill, it's to defray the expenses of certain capacity projects in the 3-year plan. So our intention for this $480 million is for capacity. But again, it will free up their program dollars to continue on with maintenance.
Thank you so much. I do. I want to make sure as we go forward that we're maintaining properly what we've got before we build a lot of new to maintain.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Senator Horn. For what purpose, sir?
Question.
You for a question, Senator?
Yes.
Senator Horn's recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Branning. I'm looking at the MDOT 3-year plan, and I see a number of projects that are maintenance, a number that are bridge, a number that are Vision 21. So are all the projects that are listed in this document going to be prioritized?
So then the language of the bill in section 1, the $480 million, and I'll refer you to lines 16 and 17, we are specifying that this money will go toward capacity projects in the 3-year plan, which I believe is referred to as Vision 21. That's their new capacity project list.
Mm-hmm. And the capacity projects have been arrived at by what means?
Our commission votes on those.
So different units of government at the local level have gone to the MDOT to make a case for why their project needs to be in Vision 21.
I'm not aware that it necessarily happens like that. Our highway commissioners that we elect, it's their job to try to decide what takes priority within their transportation districts. They then meet and decide which of those priorities should come first on the list, and they formulate a list that comes out every year.
And have you done a breakdown of the Vision 21 capacity projects to see which part of the state is getting the most resources?
I am vaguely familiar with what projects are there. And I can say this, in the commission meetings that I have watched, I do log on and look at those from time to time, there's oftentimes discussion about the quality of projects that are awarded to make sure that each transportation district is getting their fair share. So I think the commissioners, individually, they each do a very good job of advocating for their individual districts.
All right, but at the end of the day, each commission the 3 commissioners are responsible for what's going on in this document. Does staff have anything to do with it?
I'm not aware that the staff has anything to do with it. My understanding of the way it's set up is the commission votes and comes up with a plan, then it's incumbent upon the staff to carry out the plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Butler. For what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You for a question, Senator
Yes.
Branning? Senator Butler?
Thank you, Mr. President.
For a
Thank you,
question.
Madam Chairman. You mentioned the governor had some projects that he mentioned the other day, and then we were talking about these projects. Are you familiar that we've been trying to get 24 highway, 4-lane, going west down in Southwest Mississippi for over 15 years?
I've heard about the project, yes.
All right, did you not know that that was on the 1987 plan to do?
I'm aware of that, yes.
Do you not know also how important that is to Southwest Mississippi? And I think in the governor's plan, Southwest Mississippi was not even a part of his plan.
No, I'm not aware of that. I don't recall looking at his plan and having that particular highway in mind. I just looked at the plan in the whole. But what I would tell you is let's get with your commissioner. Let's talk about it and see where it is on the list. And keep in mind, to Senator Parker's point that he made a few minutes ago, what'll happen with this money when these capacity projects move forward, it brings everybody else's projects up and ready to be worked on.
I understand that. Is Highway 24 part of the Vision 21 plan?
I don't have the Vision 21 right here in front of me, but I can get that for you in just a few minutes. I do have a copy in my office.
Well, Madam Chairman, I just want you to know that's so very important in Southwest Mississippi. You know, we want to be like North Mississippi also. We want to have progress, growth, and, you know, bring industry in our area. We got plants coming, we got a lot of things happening, but we need that 4-lane highway in Southwest Mississippi.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Jordan, for what purpose, sir? Question?
I have a question.
Are you,
Mr.
Senator
President.
Branning?
Yes.
Senator Jordan, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chairman, for listening. Thank you at one point for coming to Greenwood, helping us get the grass cut up there on 49.
Happy to do it.
And 49 is in critical bad shape, and I wonder, the commissioner from the Northern District ever traveled it, but I have him coming to Greenwood, I believe, next week, and I will hopeful that we'll be included on 49 in this area, and also Highway 7 in the area, because they got potholes all over them. And we desperately need help in the Northern District, at the bottom of the Northern District. But I will confer with the commissioner on that when he comes to Greenwood next week. But thank you for your work, and then this money priority will be prioritized based on the needs in certain of the three
Yes,
districts?
Senator. The way I understand the way the commission works is they gather information and their plan is data-driven. In other words, they look at a whole host of information about different projects. They look at safety, they look at traffic count, they look at a lot of things when they're trying to set priorities. But I will be talking to your commissioner, and I'll make sure that he is aware of your comments. And to the body, let me say, I'm in the process right now of scheduling a meeting at the Capitol in the next week to 2 weeks where you all will be able to come in and have some one-on-one time with the Department of Transportation and look at the maps in your individual districts and ask these questions that I might not be able to answer.
Thank you. And may I have a copy of the plan if you could provide
Yes.
one, please?
We'll make sure you get one, Senator.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman.
Senator Butler, for what purpose, sir?
Question, Mr. President.
You have for a question, Senator Branning?
Yes.
Senator Butler, you're recognized for a question.
Thank you, Senator Brandon. Senator Brandon, I know that you are aware of all the efforts that I've been making to make sure that Fort Gibson is which was a part of the 1987 plan, which has the nuclear plant located in it, and all of that are in their need of being completed.
Yes, I've been there to see you.
Okay, and I know that you are aware that the Historical Commission and the individuals in that area have decided what direction they would like the highway to go based on what was given by Neil Schaefer and Associates, and they're willing to go along with their proposed plan. And you could see the need in our community, when you visit our community, of the need to go on and finish that section because of the damage that it's doing to the historical houses in that area. And I'm saying all that, Madam Chairman, so that you can work with me to work with our director and our commissioner to try to make that section of Mississippi be complete so that we can start our economic development plan.
Sure, I'm happy to continue working with you, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, Senator.
Final passage on the morning roll call,
Use
Mr.
the morning roll
President.
call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes. Senator Hobson, number 9.
ask that we pass on items 9 and 10, have them retain their place on the
9
calendar.
and 10 retain their place on the calendar. Senator Harkins, you're recognized. We're on item 11, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to skip item 11 and 12 and 13, have them retain their place on the calendar. Go to item 14, Senate Bill 2700, and have the title read.
11, 12, and 13 retain place on the calendar. 14, Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2700, Homestead, provide full exemption to unremarried surviving spouse of U.S. military member killed on active duty or training.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
I'd like to recognize Senator DeBar to explain the bill.
Senator DeBar, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, the title says it all. This just came to me from my county veteran service officer. Basically, if a homeowner is the unremarried surviving spouse of a member of the armed forces who was killed on active duty or died in active duty, or if the member is a member of the National Guard or Reserve and they were killed on active duty or traveling to or from their duty, that their surviving spouse would be able to claim homestead exemption on for 100% on that property. That's on line 142. Line 199 basically just states that you have up to 30 days upon purchasing a house. Council brought this issue to me that we have people coming to our state that buy a house, and if after April 1st and they are not able to claim homestead exemption, this just gives them 30 days to claim it. If they don't, then they waive it. And so that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. President. I'll yield for any questions.
Questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, Senator.
Move for adoption by use of the morning roll call.
Use of morning roll call been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Wish to be called voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes. Item 15, Senator Harkins. One moment, please. Senator McMahon.
Mr. President, I'd like to be added as a co-author.
Okay, maybe best to go back. Everybody who does not want to be a co-author on item 14, Senate Bill 2700, if you would please stand if you do not want to be a co-author. Senator Turner, Senator Blackman. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, everyone else will be admitted as a co-author, seeing no objection. Do you have trouble getting up there, Senator? Okay, we're on 15, Senator Harkins. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 15, Senate Bill 3101, and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3101, Mississippi Full Expensing Tax Reform Act of 2023, create.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator Harkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to recognize Senator Johnson to explain the bill.
Senator Johnson, you're recognized to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 3101 allows for Department of Revenue to give the option to business taxpayers to fully expense certain business expenses in the first year that they are purchased. They can either choose to do that or follow the IRS code on depreciating schedule for those items. This is currently in practice at the federal level. It'll be phasing out unless they roll it back in, and this would just keep it permanent at the state level. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, sir.
Move passage using the morning roll call.
Use of the morning roll call has been requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present? Seeing none, the bill passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 16, Senate Bill 3102, and have the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 3102, Income Tax, provides certain provisions relating to electing pass-through entities.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator, we're ready.
I move we adopt the committee substitute and recognize Senator Sparks to explain the bill.
You recognize Senator Sparks. Senator Hickman, for what purpose?
Introduction out of order.
Would you proceed with the introduction, please, sir?
Mr. President, in the gallery, we have joining with us the Leadership Development Program for the East Mississippi Community College, as well as Dr. Ostabrook, our college president. If you guys would stand and allow the Senate to make you feel welcome this morning.
Thank you. Okay, we're on the committee substitutes. You're recognized to explain the committee substitutes. Senator Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 3102 addresses something we did last year where we allowed a pass-through entity to pay their tax liability at the entity level instead of the individual level. If you have a pass-through entity, it ultimately goes to your personal tax return. This bill also allows us to write off the taxation, particularly at the state level on our federal return. And that is a benefit to every business, in the state of Mississippi that's passed through income. And that is the intent of the bill, and it clarifies some things that we did last year, as well as goes in line with a reg on the federal level that allows this write-off at the federal level to lower your tax liability to the federal government. That's an explanation of the committee sub, Mr. President. I would yield any questions.
Questions on the bill? Questions? Seeing none? We're on the committee substitutes, sir.
Move to adopt the committee sub.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator, we're on the bill.
If there are no further questions, I'd move for passage on the morning roll call.
Use of the morning roll call has been requested. Anyone object to procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none. Passes. Okay, go to the rules calendar. Senator Kirby. Pass and retain 17, Senate through 28. For pass and retain. Local and private, Senator McMahon. Pass and retain 29. Concurrence, number 30, Approps. Pass and retain. On the general bills, we're at 31. 31, pass and retain, Senator Seymour. 32 and 33, pass and retain, Senator Seymour. 34, tourism, Senator Chasnow. Pass and retain, Senator Chasnow. Senator Chasnow. Pass and retain? Okay. Pass and retain 34, 35, and 36. 37, income tax credit. Economic workforce, Senator Parker. Senator Parker is recognized. Senate, we're on 37.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to go to item 37, had the title read.
Mr. Clerk, please read the title.
Senate Bill number 2335, income tax credit, allow for employee making direct payments to entity for dependent care on behalf of employee.
Make the usual motion.
Senator makes the usual motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 2335 comes to us. This was part of the work that Senator Boyd put together over the summer in looking at some things we can do for young mothers. Currently in section 577323, we provide a 50% income tax credit to employers if they provide child care on their site of their workplace. Currently, this has not been utilized very often, and so we're attempting to try to make this a little bit more attractive. What this legislation, which is similar to some legislation other states would do, is it would provide a tax credit to an employer for any direct payment to a licensed or registered child care entity on behalf of an employee to provide dependent care during working hours. This would limit this new direct payment credit to $3,000 per year for each participating employee. It requires the employer to retain information including the license or registration number of the entity provided that the payment was made to, and the payment amounts and the name of the person whose benefit the payments were made for. The dependent care facility must be located within the state of Mississippi. So the way this would work is if you as an employer decide that to get and retain an employee, you would like to pay for the entire or portion of the child care expense to a registered facility. So let me make this clear. This would not be allowed to be made to a family member or somebody who, is just providing care kind of at no cost. But if you provide that care on behalf of your employee, then you as an employer would be able to take up to a $3,000 tax credit for doing this. And the intent would be that we would again get more of these young potentially working mothers into the workplace with a benefit that the employer can provide. That is a brief explanation of the bill. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Senator Jackson, for what purpose, sir?
Thank you, Mr. President. Introduction of a resolution out of order.
Please proceed. Okay, questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready for your motion, sir.
If there are no questions, my motion would be passage on the use of morning roll call.
Use of morning roll call is requested. Anyone object to the procedure? Court is voting no. Present. Seeing none, bill passes. Please read the title, Mr. Clerk.
Congratulate 9 Mississippi professional football players who played in the 2023 NFL Super Bowl.
Thank you. Announcements. Go to announcements, please. Senator Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to announce that Corrections will have a meeting in the morning at 9:30 in room 210. Corrections, 9:30 and 210.
9:30, 210, Mr. Clerk. Corrections.
210.
Senator Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call a Rules Committee meeting 5 minutes after recess. It should be a very short meeting.
Rules Committee, 5 minutes after recess. Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Insurance Committee will meet Thursday morning at 9 a.m. in room 216.
Thursday morning, 216, 9 a.m., sir. Senator Simmons. Derek.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate municipalities will meet Thursday at 2 p.m. in room 409.
2 p.m., 409. Senator England.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Judd A. Subcommittee for Criminal Procedure will meet today at 1 o'clock and 409. That's Senators Parker, Barrett, Barnett, and Simmons.
Thank you, Senator England. 1 o'clock, 409. Mr. Clerk. Senator McCon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to remind Senate Judiciary A, Civil, we will be meeting in 409 right after Senator England, or at 4:30 or 1:30. Also, all senators should have received a letter on their desk about your lunch today. Your county foresters are in the area, so the Forestry Association's having their luncheon at 11:45 at the old Capitol Inn, so y'all come visit with them.
11:45 for lunch. 1:30 for the meeting, Mr. Clerk. Senator Boyd for an announcement.
Boyd.
All right, we're good now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder, 4 o'clock today, we have Judiciary A Subcommittee ad hoc in 409, Turner Ford, DeBar, Kirby, and Hobson. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Harkins.
Adjourn in memory.
Please proceed.
When the Senate adjourns today, I ask they do so in memory of Mr. Andy Anderson, who passed away, on behalf of myself and Senator Michelle.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Younger.
Thank you, Mr. President. After we adjourn Monday, Ag Committee will have a meeting in room 409.
409 after adjournment on Monday, Mr. Clerk. Senator Blackwell for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Without objection, I'd like to be added as a co-author to item number 15, Senate Bill 3101 on today's calendar.
15-3101, Mr. Clerk. Senator Blackwell. Senator Bryan, you're recognized for an announcement, sir.
Mr. President, Public Health will meet for a very brief meeting this afternoon at 3 p.m., which is our regularly scheduled meeting. 3
p.m. Public Health this afternoon.
I do not anticipate it will be a long meeting, but, once we meet.
Which room is it, Senator?
216.
216, Mr. Clerk. Senator Branning.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things. First, I'd like unanimous consent to be added as co-author to numbers 37 on today's calendar, Senate Bill 2335. Then I'd like to announce a Highways and Transportation meeting at 2 o'clock in room 216.
2 o'clock, 216. Seeing no objection, granted. Senator Parker for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce Economic and Workforce Development will meet tomorrow morning at 8:30 in room 210.
8:30, 210. Senator McClendon,
Announcement, please.
please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like the Senate floor to know that NYFA, National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, will have a reception today at 5 o'clock at the Iron Horse Grill, if you can make it.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Olano for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for unanimous consent to be added to, as a co-author of item number 4 today, Senate Bill 3116.
Seeing no objection, granted. Senator Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of united consent, I would like to be added to item number 8, Senate Bill 3120, please.
Number 8, Mr. Clerk. Seeing no objection, granted. Senator Turner Ford,
Announcement.
please proceed, Senator.
The Public Property Committee will meet tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 and 4:09.
4:30, 4:09, Mr. Clerk. Public property. Senator Pope,
Announcement, Mr. President.
please proceed.
I want our junior pages to remember that tomorrow morning at 9:45 here in the chamber, we'll be having pictures made with the Lieutenant Governor and your senators, and the senators involved are Senators Jackson, McConn, McMahon, Sparks, and Young.
Thank you. Okay, Senator McConn.
Thank you, Mr. President. One last announcement. The prayer group, the legislative prayer group, the Senate, the Capitol prayer group, has one of their pastors going to be here at 2:45 in room 313 for imposition of ashes. Anybody that's Episcopal Methodist that's not going to be able to make a service, they're going to make it available for everybody here. So 2:45 in 313.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Butler.
Yes, Mr. President. With unanimous consent, I would like to be added to Senate Bill number 3117 and Senate Bill number 3120. That's 5 and 8.
Seeing no objection, granted. Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. President. With unanimous consent, I'd like to be added as a co-author on number 8 today, Senate Bill 3120, and number 16, Senate Bill 3102.
Seeing no objection, granted. Senator McMahon.
Ask for unanimous consent to be added to item 4 on today's calendar and item 16 on today's calendar.
4 and 16. Thank you, Senator. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. With unanimous consent, I'd like to be added to items 5 and 8 on today's calendar.
5 and 8, Senator Jackson. Mr. Clerk, please read the meetings.
The Rules Committee will meet 5 minutes after recess in room 307. Medicaid will meet 10:30 a.m. in room 216. That's bad. The Judiciary Division A, Criminal Law and Procedure will meet 1 p.m. in room 409. Judiciary Division A, Civil Law and Procedure will meet 1:30 in room 409. Highways and Transportation will meet 2 p.m. in room 216. Public Health and Welfare will meet at 3 p.m. in room 216. And Judiciary Division A Ad Hoc Committee will meet 4 p.m. in room 409.
One correction, Medicaid will not meet.
Medicaid will not meet today. And on Thursday morning, Workforce and Economic Development will meet 8:30 a.m. in room 210. Insurance will meet on Thursday 9 a.m. in room 216. Corrections will meet on Thursday, room 210 at 9:30 a.m. And County Affairs will meet on Thursday, room 409 at 9:30 a.m.
This is 2.
Okay, Senator Pope.
409.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in recess until 5 p.m. today, at which time the Journal will reflect that we are adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We stand in recess.